Hey everybody, my name is SPAZ, and I'm a CD junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about... What? That's not on CD? Gee! Hey everybody, SPAZ here, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of That's Not on CD. On this episode, I'm talking about an LA quartet by the name of The Scooters. Now, The Scooters were Larry Lee on bass and vocals, Luke Zamperini on guitar, Robert Ferraro on guitar and vocals, and Bobby Dean Wickland on drums. These guys seemingly came out of nowhere, but actually, Larry Lee had been around in bands since the late 60s. Now, I was lucky enough to hear a demo by Larry Lee from the late 60s, and it literally sounds like what he was doing with the Scooters. So he's always had these melodic power pop leanings. But basically, the band came together in the late 70s. They recorded demos with Kim Fowley, but by the time their first album, Young Girls, was released in 1980, the album was produced by Phil Wainman. Some of you may recognize his name off a lot of records. I immediately recognized his name off of Bay City Rollers records. So Phil Wainman produced it. Very pop, very power pop. I can't believe that these guys didn't immediately catch on. Their sound was closer to Badfinger. In fact, Larry Lee had this very Tommy Evans type voice. But if you listen to the debut album, Young Girls, and you listen to something like Stuck on You or Let Me In, there's a definite Badfinger influence there. There's a lot of other great songs on that album, like Someone Tonight, the title track Young Girls, Big Brother, Take Me Home, Drive Away. Lots of great songs. It's just pure, absolute, wonderful pop. It's tough, but it's also sugary sweet. Larry Lee and Robert Ferraro have these great voices that play off each other. Larry's the higher voice, and Robert has the gruffer, rougher edge, and when combined, it sounds really good. There was actually a single released off the album. I believe it was Stuck on You. The B-side was a song called Clara, which is absolutely amazing, great pop. What I found out later was that's just Larry Lee's demo. And it's a wonderful song. So if you can track down that 7-inch, definitely do that. The following year, they released an album called Blue Eyes. Now, like any other band during the era that had two albums, let's say Hawks, Laughing Dogs, 4 out of 5 Doctors, and other bands like that, the second album was significantly different. Might have been because they had matured and they knew how to work in the studio, or it might have been because the record company was saying, come on, we need a hit record. Let's add some keyboards or something to it. But anyway, Blue Eyes was another great collection of songs, but it was moving a little bit away from power pop, taking in a little bit of keyboards. Alien Nights, Time, Where Did We Go Wrong, Standing Up Straight, Living in Character. These are all great songs that were just melodic and poppy. Didn't sound exactly like the first album, but all the great elements that made you fall in love with that first album were really here on this second album. As anybody who loves the Knack and the Rubinoos and all those bands should have loved the Scooters. Maybe you just didn't hear them. That's the only excuse I can possibly imagine. But sadly, they split up. Ironically, I go to see Badfinger in 1981 or 82. They're touring to promote the Say No More album, but unfortunately, the band had kind of split up by then. So it was Joey Molland. He recruited Joe Tansen, who played guitar on Airwaves, and he recruited Larry Lee and Bobby Dean Wickland from the Scooters. So basically, I was seeing half the Scooters performing as Badfinger. So it was blowing my mind because I love Badfinger and I love the Scooters. But the one thing that really bothers me is that these albums have not been heard by people that I know that would really, really love them. But since this is an episode of That's Not on CD, guess what? Neither of those albums are on CD, and they would both comfortably fit on one disc along with Clara. But like any other episode in this series, coming up is a medley of songs from both of the Scooters albums, and I hope it at least inspires you maybe to go out and find used copies of the albums, or phone your local record label and say, reissue these on CD. Does anybody still do that? But anyway, that's it for this episode of That's Not on CD. I hope that you give a listen to the music I'm going to play, and I hope it inspires you to go out and search for this band and search for all those other great bands that never made it on CD. Share this video or tell your friends about the band, and let's make them a cult band if we can't put them in the top 40, 40 years too late. Anyway, that's it. I appreciate you hanging out and listening to me babble about music. I hope you like what you're about to hear. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you again for listening. And smell you later. She needs some action, some satisfaction. She needs someone tonight.
car. I'm just sitting here watching you, wondering when to make my move. I'm just standing wondering if I've got a chance with you. What can I do? Because I'm really stuck on you. What can I say? Because I need you in every way. Now how can I try if you won't let me? And how can I try if you reject me? And how can I try? How can I try if you won't let me into your heart? You're just a memory, funny how it used to be. Now I understand you are the one for me. I'm falling in love again. I'm falling in love again. I'm falling in love again. I'm falling in love. And it nearly blew me out of my mind. Since I've been with me all of the time. Yes, it nearly blew me out of my mind. Since I've been with me all of the time. 'Cause time just slips away from day to night to endless day.